Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Ask Sharifah. As you know, all my people know that I have been having an amazing week. I just launched my podcast. So for anyone who's just interested in the audio version of Ask Sharifah, I launched it on a podcast, and it's going to be available on a lot of different places, including Spotify. But I'm also going to be doing my interviews live on Facebook. So tune in and you can watch the interviews live. So also, I just launched my new book, Signs You Might Be an Entrepreneur, How to Discover the Entrepreneur in You. It's available on AskSharifah.com, on Amazon, and Amazon Kindle. And so I was like, Sharifah, you have this book. You want to make this book as successful as possible. So now what do you do? I mean, you have years of experience, but it's always great to have a mentor and someone you can ask. So we have to talk to today's guest, Miss Cathy Sexton, and she does one of my favorite things. She helps businesses with profit. She is a productivity and profit specialist. Good afternoon, Cathy. How are you?
Hi, how are you doing today?
I am amazing. I'm so excited to have you here, and you have a book. Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Yeah, my book is, and I'll even show it up. It's, 52 powerful success strategies to help you ignite your productivity. So what I've done is I've taken just thoughts and ideas for each day, and it's kind of more of a journal type thing so that you can write in it and take your time and implement them on a weekly basis. Okay,
now I know we won't be able to do 52, but can we get one or two?
Sure. So I'll just open up a page. How's that?
I love it.
Here's one: processing your daily email. Stop checking, reviewing, or reading the same email multiple times without acting. So schedule 2 or 3 times a day so that you can actually do your email when you're doing it, versus we jump into our email and we look at it and go, oh, I'll do that later, or I'll do that later. So it's much better to schedule it, spend the time, implement it, and get rid of it.
Okay, that's one. So just give another one, because I have some comments on that one, because I want your thoughts, because that first one was a surprise. So give me another one. I need another one. Okay,
so another one is redefine perfection. So if perfect is your end goal, instead of thinking perfect, consider done is better than perfect, useful is better than perfect, and mastery is better than perfect.
Okay, I love both of those, number 1 and number 2. So before I even ask my questions, where is your book available? Because I know we're going to have to get it.
My book's available on Amazon. It's also available on my website at theproductivityexperts.com.
Okay, that's wonderful. Now, we do have a few people joining us in the live. I want to say good morning to Dion. Good morning to Teresa. So everyone, as you join, I always ask, please share this video. Please share this live, because friends don't let friends miss out on Ask Sharifah, and we are live. We now have our guest, Cathy Sexton, in front of us. So if you have any business questions, any comments, questions on what she just said, please let me know, and I'll be sure to ask. So Cathy, the first thing that you said was email, which stood out to me. And some of my friends think I'm a little weird and a little odd, and I am a little weird and probably a lot odd, but I cannot stand to have emails in my inbox at all. Like that, to me, it will literally drive me crazy. I have tons of folders, but I love to organize my emails into the folders. So if they're sitting in my inbox, to me, that's a pending status. It's something that I have to get back to and I want to see. So I kind of tick it off and move it to, a folder when it's complete. But I say that to people and they're like, wow, you're lucky. I have 20,000 emails in my inbox. I couldn't do that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the most I've ever seen in anybody's inbox was 14,000. So, and that was kind of like heart-wrenching. Oh my God. But I'm like you, what's in my inbox is things that I need to still deal with. So I use that as my action list in my email, in my inbox. But so the best thing and the easiest way to kind of get yourself reorganized is to have someone, I have them create a new folder that's called old inbox and move everything from their inbox to that old inbox. Then they can start off fresh and new, because most of that stuff, you've already dealt with it. If it's older than a couple weeks old, it's either been dealt by another email, or they've called you, or it really wasn't that important anyway. So you could really get rid of them, but most people panic when I tell them to do that. So I tell them, put it all in an old email. You can search for it, find it, an email folder, but we'll start off with a fresh, new, clean inbox and go from there.
Okay, I have a few people, my friend Sandy in particular. I'm gonna show Sandy this video because I may have exaggerated a little bit about the 20,000, but she definitely has a ton of emails. So we're gonna help her out. And again, I did say we were gonna go ahead and take some comments from the chat room. We do have Dion who has a question. She wants to know how to get more client leads. I don't know if that's too general for you, Cathy, but that's what the people want to know.
How to get more client leads? Well, you basically have to start creating something to give somebody some value. So what I did quite a few years ago, and that's really how my book came about, is I created a newsletter where I would, meet people. I would have a way to attract people on my website, and I would send out a weekly newsletter that was really a tip of the week. It was just to give them value so that they could learn about me and learn more about what I did and find out if what I had was of value to them. And then over 3 years of doing that, I had people saying, I want these ideas in a book. And that's how my book really came about, that book particularly anyway. So really, it's about building relationships. So how can you start making some relationships and not expecting a new relationship that you meet that's going to buy from you? You've got to build up that rapport. So if it's through networking, if it's through your newsletter, if it's through a blog, the biggest thing is start attracting your people through social media, Facebook, and just start giving them some value so that they can find out what you're all about.
Oh, I love it. That's wonderful. You have all this information, great information that I definitely agree with. But how did you learn all of this? How did you get all of this? We need the trade secrets here.
Really, I started my business basically out of a medical, problem that I had. I really got very, very ill, and I needed to get out of the corporate world. So I started my own business. But it's so much better now than when I started basically 16 years ago this year. It was a lot by trial by error. And this is really the third business since then. And it's really, you learn as you go. And the biggest thing that I can say is find people that you admire, that can mentor you, and that can help you, because it's really about collaboration. And what I don't know, you might know. What I don't know, somebody else might know. And it's really putting yourself out there and asking for help. It really does. There's so much to learn about entrepreneurship and running your own business. And the biggest thing, because I really do talk about productivity so much, it's really about finding out what's going to work for you. It's not that you can mirror what somebody else is doing. You have to find out what's really right for you and what works for you. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Well, that is wonderful. Now, Dion said thank you. You did answer her question. And again, if anyone else has any questions you'd like to ask, Cathy Sexton is a productivity and profit specialist, and she is here today. She's given our time to answer whatever questions you may have. So while we waited on the questions, again, I'm going to go ahead and ask my questions because I love to learn. I definitely love to learn. One of the things that you mentioned when you got your start early on and you started your newsletter, and I know you said you wanted to share the information, but did you struggle with content? Because I know I don't have a newsletter. In 25 years of being online, I've never created a newsletter. I know why I should, I know how to, but I'm a talker. I'm not a writer. You know what I mean? I was blessed with the gift of gab. Even when people text me, questions, I'm like, okay, well, do you have time to talk? Because I'm not going to sit here and text you back and forth. And so I always struggle with the content. Do you have any suggestions or recommendations on how to correct that problem?
Well, to be quite honestly, I hate to write.
Okay.
And that's why it works so well for me to be able to start off with just giving them value, taking a tip that I had and expanding on that tip and giving that value. My newsletters in the beginning weren't really long. They were just consistent. And the most exciting thing about when I first started, it was about 1.5 years into doing this, I had somebody actually call me and hire me. And it was because I was constantly giving them some value. And now I have somebody that helps me do my blogging and things like that, but she can write in my voice, she can help me, I can write it, she can then just make it a little bit better because I'm not a writer myself and that's not where my gift is. But I want to give that value to people. So, think about just doing a Facebook Live every week. You don't have to do a newsletter anymore. There's so many other ways of doing it.
Yeah, see, that's why I do the Facebook Live. It's so much easier for me. I can hop on, say what I have to say. And sometimes my Facebook Lives wind up being what I call, I love this word ever since I learned it, like a convention. Like I love to just come on there and be like, let me tell you what these customers, the clients that did to me today, what I'm going through. I'm trying to find these customers. I'm trying to help these people. But you can't write that in a newsletter. It doesn't have the same kind of ring to it. It just sounds like, okay, this person must be crazy to send us this type of newsletter. One of the things that stood out to me that you said is the person contacted you, if I heard you correctly, after about 1 year. What were you thinking during that year? Did you feel, I'm sure there were other responses, but did you feel like you were talking to yourself? Did you feel like nobody cares or this is not going to be profitable for my business?
I really did. I didn't know what would come of it. I did get responses. I'd get people say thank you. So I did know some people were reading it, but I really didn't know where. But when I got the first client who called me up and said, I need to hire you, that I was elated because I thought, okay, all that hard work came, really helped out. And it is, but it's about, again, back to what I said earlier, it's about creating and nurturing your relationships and helping people out. And if you can help people, then when they need help, they know where to go.
How did you decide to go into productivity and profitability? And before you answer that question, one of the things I want to say is sometimes people have an issue with the word profits, just like money, like anything where you say, I want you to have profits. They're like, oh my God, money is the root of all evil. They don't even want to mention certain words like profits, but they come to you and go, you know what? I'm not making any money from my business. And you're like, okay, yeah, that would be profits.
Well, so I'll try and put a, long story, really quick here so we don't spend much time on it. But I'm an accountant by trade, right? And then I was in the corporate world and I got deathly ill. And I was rushed to the hospital, come to think that I was having heart issues. It wasn't my heart, it was stress issues. Really scared me to death. It really did, thinking that, oh my God, what's going to happen to my daughter, my husband, and so on. But you know what? I went right back to what I did before. I got back into the groove of working more and more, going in early and early, staying later and later. And that's when I got diagnosed with a life-threatening disease. And again, that was brought on and induced by stress. And that's when the doctor said, you have to change your lifestyle or you're not going to be around. And so that's really, I had to learn for myself. Even though I'm a systems person, I really had to learn how to step back from what I was doing, get off the hamster wheel, and actually do things smarter, not harder. And with all the work, I read everything I could read. I got professional help when I needed it, some coaching. And then I decided to go into business for myself, okay? Because the corporate world I realized was not where I needed to be. And I decided to open a bookkeeping business for small business owners. And as soon as I did that, I realized that they needed so much more help than just bookkeeping. They had no systems or processes in place. They were, wearing so many hats. And that's really how I wound up going down the road of productivity, because I've already been there myself, been through it. And now here I am helping other people with their accounting, but knowing that they needed so much more help than that. So then I kind of didn't do any accounting for a while. I kind of got out of that, got into the coaching, speaking, training on productivity, goal setting, time management, all that. And then I really came back around to really started working with business owners again, and because that's where my love is. And that's when the profits part came back in. So, when I started helping coaching them in their businesses, we had to look at money, right? And as you said, that's a scary thing for a lot of people. And so I would have a system that I would implement. It's a system, a systemized way of actually making sure that you're paying yourself and that you have profit in your business and you have money set aside for taxes. And it's just something that we have to do if we want to really have a successful business.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Great advice. Now, we do have another question in the chat room. Dion is just loving this opportunity. So thank you for Dion for participating. And if anyone else has a question, feel free to comment and I'll ask your question. And I really like this question from Dion. Dion says that she's a travel consultant and she really wants to help people have an experience, like a travel experience. Now, the majority of the people that she talks to are her Facebook friends, and she has a lot of new Facebook friends, and she doesn't want to just inbox them, hi, I'm a travel consultant. What is the best way that you recommend to transition people from Facebook or from a social media into a newsletter per se?
So I would suggest that she start giving them some tips or even asking questions on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And, could be, where's the last place you traveled to? Just get some conversations going and then have something on her website, like maybe the top 10 tips for your next trip, to be organized for your next trip or something like that. And have that as a freebie on her website. So then she can post something on Facebook to give them value, but say, if you want more or you want these tips, and then lead them to her website, then that way she'll capture their name and their email address so that she can start then doing a newsletter for them.
I think that's excellent advice. I think that's wonderful advice. So I'm going to ask my question then, because this is one of the most common questions that people ask me. In 2019, like, Sharifah, why do I even need a website? I mean, I have an Instagram, I have a Facebook, I even have a free Facebook page. I mean, why in this year, why would I even create a website? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts on there is that because if you put everything on Facebook and social media, you don't own it. Mm-hmm. Any day it can change. Your website you own. And when people are looking for help, they're Googling. And if you're, I get my clients, a lot of them come from just finding me and finding my website and then reading my story and reading about what I do. Your Facebook and your Facebook page and all of that is great. Mm-hmm. But you can tell so much of your own story if you have your own website, and think of it as a brochure to show people what you can do, what you've done, testimonials. It can be a whole big picture of what's going on for you and how you can help other people. I think social media is just a piece of what you can do to help really market your business.
One of the things that you mentioned, again, I like keywords, buzzwords stand out to me, but you said a lot of people find you by searching for you. Now, there are people who have this belief that the only way to get traffic or visitors or sales is to pay for advertising. Do you have any tips, suggestions? Is there any strategies to be found without paying or paying a lot of money for advertising?
Well, I think, if you put everything in as free advertising, I don't think that that's the best way to do. I think you do have to invest. Just like you want people to invest in you and buy your services, you have to buy other people's services. But the best thing I think you can do if you're going to do a website is hire somebody to help you with the SEO.
Mhm.
I did that quite a few years ago, and a tremendous difference. And especially with things constantly being changing with Google and, all the social media and stuff, you have to have somebody who knows what's going on.
So so you hired somebody a few years ago. So does this person keep up to date on what's going on and continues to update your website?
Well, he doesn't currently, but when I have something new, which I am getting ready to really launch a whole new section. When I redo that, then I'll probably hire him, he'll do audits, for my website and just say, hey, you need to change this or change that. So it's not something that's ongoing that I pay him all the time for, but when I feel like some things need to be changed, I will have him double check it. But I've attended many of he does meetups. So I go to his meetups and I get one tip and then I go implement it. He tells you a whole lot of them, but I take one and I just implemented them over the years. So you can get that information by, just listening to people that are in that field and start implementing some of what they tell you to do.
Cathy, or actually, I'm going to say this. If you're just now tuning in, we are speaking with Ms. Cathy Sexton. She is a productivity and profit specialist, and she's actually taking questions live right now. So if you're live in the chat room and you have a question, please feel free to ask. And Cathy is also the author of a book. So again, let's show them your book, Cathy. 52 powerful success strategies. And we learned 2. And if you didn't hear those 2, guess what? Go and watch it in the archives. Watch the video later. We're going to move forward. We do have a question in the chat room from a Tammy. Tammy would like to know, is radio a good venue for advertising?
Well, I really think advertising, you have to look at all the venues, but if that is where your audience is, then I would say yes. You really have to know where your audience lives. So the first thing, before you even jump into any kind of marketing or anything like that, you really need to know who is that client, who is that person you want to attract. And I hear so many people say, well, anybody can take my services. And when you think about what I do, productivity, profit, who doesn't need that, right? But if I just market to everybody, then I'm doing that shotgun effect and it's just going to pedal out. I need to really focus in to a group of people. Now, will I work with other people? Certainly. But you have to find, so where do those people live? Are they listening to radio? If they are, that's probably a good place for you. Are they still reading the paper? Are they reading maybe a certain industry magazine that you can write an article in? So really, we need to know who is that target market that you need to, that you're trying to reach, and where are they living, and where are they working, and where are they listening?
That's wonderful, but I just want to go in, be a little bit more specific about that question, or at least that answer. One of the things I always tell people is exactly what you said. And I agree with you 100%, especially about knowing who your audience is. So the example that I always get, you have to look at what the larger corporations do. And so even when you think about Coca-Cola, everyone drinks Coca-Cola. But when you look at their brand, their target audience is actually teenagers. That's who they're going after, is that teen. And then everybody else is just the cherry on the top. But I wanted to ask, when you said, where does your audience live? Like, does your audience live on the radio? I'm like kind of curious, like, doesn't everyone listen to the radio, or doesn't everyone do a certain thing? I mean, I know they have listened to different channels per se, but doesn't everyone listen to the radio? I guess that's my question.
I have to be very honest. I rarely listen to the radio myself anymore. Because when I'm in the car, I really need that time. I use that time for thinking and processing things, and I really like the quiet. Mm-hmm. So I don't listen to the radio that often anymore. And so many people, are listening to, Pandora or Spotify or, some of those other, iTunes or podcasts or things like that. So you really need to know where that audience is and what they're listening into and what they're doing.
That's an excellent point, because I'm like you, and I really just wanted to see what you were going to say because I was curious. But I was having a conversation the other day with my son, and he was telling me he was driving to work and he was listening to an audiobook. I was like, you listen to audiobooks while you drive to work? He was like, yeah, what are you listening to? I'm like, I don't listen to anything. I enjoy the sound of silence. That's when I have an opportunity to clear my head, to think, to kind of evaluate, and the noise to me just distracts me. So I'm in complete agreement. So excellent point. We have to find out who our audience is and what they're most interested in. As far as platforms, people always ask me, or often ask me, which platforms I recommend, because you mentioned, are they on podcasts? Are they on, here? They want to know, because people believe, and I'm going to ask this question in a long-winded way, which is Sharifah Hardie's way, but that if you just go one place, then all of a sudden you're a millionaire. Just go there. Like, is it Google? Is it Facebook? Is it, what is it? And my answer to me is that not everybody loves apples and not everybody loves oranges. There's no one cookie cutter thing. You have to kind of go through it. What would be your response to that?
I would say that you have to be in multiple places. You can't just, it's not one, if you can do a podcast or, video show or something like that, that's great. Mm-hmm. That's not for everybody, but if you're going to be in social media, we're in social media. People are on Facebook, but if your clients are, and your ideal client is in LinkedIn, you need to be on LinkedIn. So you have to have some social media, and snail mail and direct media is not dead. Really, there's right now, there's a better chance of somebody opening your mail than it was, years ago, a few years back, because people aren't doing as much of that anymore. I think you have to have a multitude of different ways. That's why it's so important to have the website, because if that's how people look for people, you need that venue. If they're on Facebook a lot or social media a lot, then you're going to pick up some people there. And maybe, like I said, a really great way is if you're looking for a specific audience in a specific industry, to write some articles for their magazines. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. I was with you 100%. You just blew me away at the end, because you made it sound so simple. I mean, I want to know how you do that, because I think a lot of magazines, newspaper outlets, that's what PR companies do. Not to even promote my own PR company, but, they have those relationships. And so someone for the outside to just say, here, I wrote you an article. Can you run my article in your magazine? Is there a strategy to that? Because I need that.
Well, if it's an industry, industries have newsletters and they have magazines, but finding maybe.
No, I'm with you. We right here. I heard a bell somewhere.
Okay. So am I on?
You are on. We hear.
Yes, I was muted and I was trying to figure that out. So, but as a speaker, I learned that technique. So if you want to speak for an organization, you need to get into that organization through giving them something. So writing an article for their newsletter or for their publication. And if you get into the publishing side and say, hey, I've got these great articles, I think they'd be a benefit to your audience, and send them a couple samples, and you're not asking for anything in return, and they need, they're always looking for new things, especially if it's a hot topic right now. They're more than likely going to try and, see if they can fit it in, because it's information they didn't have to go get or have to provide.
That was right there. That was gold. That I loved everything you said, but I love that gold right now. We about to make some changes. We about to do some things. We about to be in the news. I guarantee it. Now it is 12:40. We've held you here for some time, and I am going to wrap up the show. But while I'm wrapping up the show, I'm going to ask two things. Number one, we only have Cathy here for a limited amount of time, a couple more minutes. If you're in the chat room and you have any questions, please ask them now. Second of all, Cathy, we are coming down to the end of the show. And what I like to do is ask my guests, is there, specifically what you want the viewers to take away from your interview? So I'm going to give you a few minutes while everybody's here.
Yeah, so the whole thing is if, especially if you're new at entrepreneurship or you've been in it for a long time, the biggest key that, I want people to take away is don't lose your passion for what you do. And the easiest way to do that is to get overwhelmed and overworked. So we need to step back from our businesses, and it's not about working harder, it's working smarter. And it's about outsourcing and collaborating and getting other people to help you, and not to always do it so much yourself. We have to wear a lot of hats as an entrepreneur, but there are a lot of hats we should not be wearing. And so to know where your strengths are and know what items give away to other people.
I love it. That was so beautiful. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Cathy, please show them your book again and let the viewers know where they can pick it up.
It's 52 Powerful Success Strategies to Ignite Your Productivity. It's on Amazon. My website is theproductivityexperts.com.
I love it. And you heard it here. And again, everyone in the chat room, everyone who asked questions, I greatly appreciate your support. I would love it if you go ahead and share this video, because again, you know what I tell you, friends don't let friends miss out on Ask Sharifah. So go ahead and share this video. We will be back next weekend. This is the last interview for this week. Tune in next week. I would really love for you to have your questions ready for our guests, because we're going to have some fun, because Ask Sharifah is live and unedited. Again, my new book is available. Signs You Might Be an Entrepreneur, How to Discover the Entrepreneur in You, on my website at AskSharifah.com, on Amazon and on Kindle. If you would like to see more of my interviews, please visit the website. Or if you'd like to be a guest on Ask Sharifah, visit the website at AskSharifah.com. Thank you. I didn't even thank you. I'm so rude. Cathy Sexton, productivity and profit specialist. My mama taught me better than that. Thank you for being a guest on today's show. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
You are so welcome. Everyone, have a wonderful weekend. That was fun. We are off, I believe. No, I don't think we off. No, we're not off yet. Hold on.